with no one to relate history with credibility and a lot of important facts to be that were hidden for a long time for us to know. Author of Egyptology and historian, Mr. Bassam Shammaa, is going to talk to us about Ramses III, who was the first one to visit the Arab Peninsula. Later on became Saudi Arabia. That's a very interesting story. No one could ever cross his mind that the pharaohs set their feet on the Arab Peninsula. How did that happen? Why did that happen? And when did it happen? That are questions that are going to be raised in this segment. Mr. Bassam Shammaa, good morning.
Good morning to you, my dear.
A very good morning to you, sir. It seems that our foreign relations or our diplomatic ties were flourishing when it comes to our pharaonic era, and we were that keen to have diplomatic ties, to have foreign affairs, of course, far from being invaded or far from occupation. When it comes for occupation, we defended our country since the pharaonic era in the most successful way, and we regained our land since the pharaonic era. But when it comes to peaceful diplomatic ties, we were also on top. And what we are going to talk about today is such a good example on that. Would you please elaborate?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm enchanted to be here weekly with you so that we can discuss history out of the box. History which is not related to boring numbers and boring names. History is exciting. History is alive. The past is now. And the future of the past is Egypt. Egypt is not only a past that we talk about, but a past to help our present and inshallah to have a better future. That is the goal of studying history and telling history. That's number one. Number two, the biggest fun I'm having with history for the last 34 years is this, is relating what's happening today to what's happening in the past. Without being the judge of politics, I don't know what, that's another story. I am relating events because I remember the very first book I wrote that small called Egypt, the Civilization. And I wanted to address it, to title it, Egypt, Cradle of Civilization. And I was told by some friends from England, I thought, don't call it Cradle of Civilization, Mr. Bassam, call it Egypt, the Civilization. Being the uniqueness that Egypt is and was and inshallah will be always. Why, I ask, you don't want me to title my book Egypt, the Cradle? They said because the cradle means the origin, means the very first, the pioneering, and that we are not sure of because we have a civilization in Ur, Ur in Iraq. That is a good competition and a very big competitive element of history with us. Good competition, historical competition, intellectual competition, positive, good, beneficially competition. Ur could be older than us as a civilization. And of course, that will depend on your definition of what is civilization.
Yes.
Because some people will tell you civilization is where civis, originally the word, is civis is. So you are always talking civil, civilian, citizen, city. Civic. And I totally disagree with that. Because I believe that civilizations did not start in cities. Civilization started in the very desert, in the heart of nothingness, in the heart of dryness and famine and starvation. That is when you prove you are a civilized person. Not when everything is ready for you, everything with buttons. I say when 2016 and the years before will be written in some 500, 1,000 years, this is not called civilization. We are not going to be called civilization, 2006, the world. Because everything is ready for you. Everything is so comfortable. Well, compare yourself with people who wanted, for example, to make a trade relationship with a faraway place. Talking far away meaning no aeroplanes, no helicopters, no choppers, no fast trains, no fast cars, no paved streets. Think about that, no paved streets. So you are always jumping up and down.
This is relative a way or another, because, by the very first few decades of the 20th century, people thought the same way. After Edison did what he has done, and after the existentialists thought that we did everything and we cannot be more
advanced
than this. You know, they thought the same way. You know, with Fleming and penicillin, with Addison, and with James Watt, and you know, stuff like that. They thought the same way. Maybe after 100 years, we are going to say the same. I mean, the coming generations are going to say about us like what we are now saying about Graham Bell and Addison and James Watt and
I was telling you something about this. Bear in mind, you are taking a journey, for example, to Ethiopia or Somalia in ancient times. The number of casualties that you will have on boats when you are sailing the sea, when you're sailing the river, air currents, no motorboats, no nothing. The number of casualties here, animals, attacks, lions eating you, all sorts of things like that that you don't hear a lot about now. You can still hear about things, but not a lot. But what about Egypt, the pyramids, the obelisks, the sciences? And this to me is more important than the pyramids, the science of ancient Egypt, the inventions of ancient Egypt.
Yes.
What about this amazing nation with amazing mentalities, intellectualities of characters in ancient Egypt? And again, I'm not talking about kings, and I'm not talking about queens. I'm talking about us 4, 5, 6, 12, 16,000 years ago. But what about the relation with the other? Well, we had the first ambassador in the history of mankind with the name. We had the first discoverer of lands, a character in Nubia, an amazing man, amazing man. Why are we not giving Nubia and our South the greatest historical right? Everything, episodes, the magician of the South, the, I don't know, ambiguity of the South. It's always this business of the South being, now there is the biggest, I don't know what, of an episode working called The Magician of the South. It's always the South, something is not clear about. What? South wrote history, the South made history, the South invented science. Okay. So, I am introducing to you today one character with the name of one Herkhuf. Herkhuf, by the documents on his tomb, by the texts which is still alive till today, go and visit it in Aswan, and he is telling you that he went down to the beautiful south of Africa, to the African nations. We are talking maybe Sudan today, around this area. And we are talking old kingdoms, and we are talking middle kingdoms and new kingdoms. So we're talking about a good 3,000, 4,000 and something years. A gentleman took some Egyptians, and he went and he found and he talked, and he actually wrote names of places and tribes in Africa. And he was titled, beside being the sailor and this and the friend of the king and so on, he was titled the boss, the chief of interpreters. The man talked African languages. The man knew what the African tribes were talking about. He made peace between tribes, he's telling us. So this is not Livingstone. This is not the Lake Albert. Why are you calling it Lake Albert? We are in Africa. There is no Albert in Africa, right? Why are we not calling Herkhuf in places? Because he was the first man to go there. And he made more than one visit, not once. So he's telling us about the year so, the year so, the year so. And that gave me the idea that, oh yes, trade was important in those days. That's number one. Number two, we had a civilization here, beautiful, called the Ma'adi civilization. And this Ma'adi civilization, this is how it's called in English, M-A-A-D-I, Ma'adi civilization, Ma'adi culture. This Ma'adi culture was before the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. So before you invented writing, before you invented hieroglyphs, before you built pyramids, there were a number of Egyptian cultures which heated up the whole civilization for the ancient Egyptians to come and do what they did. So there is the very ancient Egyptians and the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians that you know about. The very ancient Egyptians are the before the unification of it. Ma'adi, they excavated in some of those we call them prehistoric. The prehistoric cultures in Egypt, we found women's cosmetics, accessories, and from women's accessories excavated in those prehistoric cultures, We understood the first trade relationship thousands of years ago between Egypt and Palestine.
Right. We need, are you trying, in other words, to trace the first steps that were taken by any pharaoh outside Egypt?
Before Pharaoh's even.
Before
Pharaoh was called Pharaoh or titled Pharaoh.
We could never label them as pharaohs.
We will label them as ancient Egyptians.
Ancient Egyptians.
To be historically correct.
But what is the story behind Ramses III
Right.
going to the Arab Peninsula? And how did it cross his mind back then, and why? Because when people hear about a king visiting a place like that, probably there was no life, I mean, no cultural life or civilization on that place. So why would it cross his mind to go over there? Is it for trade, for exchanging, cultural ties, or
Well
if
said.
you would like to collaborate on
A
that?
name of a king.
Elaborate, sorry.
Thank you. A name of a king carved anywhere doesn't mean that the king himself was there. So-and-so opened this hospital, but he did the big
Under his
president didn't have the
auspices
time
or
to go.
whatever, yeah.
So there will be the representative of the presidency and so on and so forth, as is well known.
So they had the same scenarios, like,
Oh yes, oh yes.
okay.
Very, very true.
No wonder.
Right? Very true.
It's a deeply rooted
the
trend, it seems.
The cartouches of Ramessu the third. If we can start by the pictures that I brought you this morning, you will find the man with his cartouche is depicted on a mount in the Arab Peninsula in an oasis well known. This is the gentleman here. And I wanted to start by introducing the man that we found his cartouche in Arab Peninsula. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Ramses III. And if Afaf, bless her, can bring us the cartouches, the royal names, to enlarge it, it would be great. Because once you are looking at the hieroglyphs, you will notice that there are some characters in his name which is pretty amazing. First of all, we have the character of Ma'at.
The goddess?
And we know Ma'at is the female deity, if you like, of...
Deity, okay. I'm
it's
sorry.
okay, it's okay. Of truth, order. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Order, crucial. This lady, as a symbol in ancient Egypt, crucial. The Ramessides, you know that there were 11 Ramseses in ancient Egypt who ruled our country. 11, with the title Ramses. Ramessu. And you will notice Ma'at. You will notice the word Wusser. This is why you're always listening to me saying the name of Ramesses II, the third, has got this Usser, Ma'at, Ra. You're always going to hear this word in the names of this king.
What's Usser?
Wusser. Like a standard, like a stick, like a beam, and at the top there is a jackal head with erected ears. You're always going to find it depicted on the walls of Karnak and places like, and in the Valley of the Kings. This is Wusser. So Wusser, Ma'at, Ra.
What does that signify or represent?
The order, the truth of Ra is strong. Strong is the truth of Ra. Ra is strong by the truth. You can put any of those meanings around.
Yeah.
As if he's trying to tell us through his title and through his name is that he is the man who's bringing order. He is the man, because remember, the ancient Egyptian king was the responsible person numero uno for bringing justice and order to the cosmos. This is how they thought.
Yes.
So if there was no truth during your reign, during your rule, then you are no good. And that's why when the flooding didn't come, and the country started to suffer from famine and starvation and droughts and dryness, and people were dying and bones are coming out from the chest as it was depicted, then who to blame but the king? The deities are not happy with you. The deity of the flooding is not happy with you. Give more offerings. And that's when the high priests will collect more offerings.
Yes.
In the temple. It was sort
Same
of
scenarios.
yeah, one of the time. So Ramesses III has got the most exquisite temple called Medinat Habu. And once again, to those who did not visit Medinat Habu temple in the West Bank of Luxor, they did not visit temples. Forget for a minute Karnak temples. Forget for a minute my favorite temple, Luxor temple. Forget Abydos, out of this world, beautiful. Medinat Habu. Ramesses III and others. Also, the man has got the most exquisite tomb in the Valley of the Kings. But to find his cartouche in Tabuk, in the governorate of Tabuk, Muhafzat Tabuk, in Arab Peninsula, today, Kingdom of Saudi, you'll be amazed. And now, thank you very much. So we can see the cartouches of the gentleman. On the right-hand side, can you see this triangle? It looks like a pyramid or a triangle at the top right.
And key of life?
And right under it is the Ankh.
Yeah.
The triangle in hieroglyphics is D. You pronounce it this way, D, D-I, D.
The
D
what,
is
sir?
D. This is how you pronounce it in hieroglyphs. The triangle at the top.
Okay.
It's pronounced D. D means offer,
Okay.
give, life given, Ankh. Ankh is verb to be in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. And it's not a key. But it was well known in the last, I don't know, few years, somebody came up with the business of it's the key of life. No, it's not a key of life. This is something that we keep on repeating. There is no key. This is not a key. This is the hieroglyphic word for to be.
Okay.
To be. Like Shakespeare when he said to be or not to be. You can well say to Ankh or not to Ankh. That's the question.
Is it also a significance of existence or
I'm
life?
with you 150% to be life, alive, live, life. You name it.
Vitality.
Existence. Vitality, something else. But life. Be more precise, life. Now, the hieroglyph, wow, this is beautiful. I'm impressed. Now we can see Wusr Ma'it. Ma'it is always this lady who's seated with a feather on her head or holding a feather on her, kind of attached to the knees. And then he is the beloved of Beri to the left. Wusr Ma'it Ra Beri Iman. He's the beloved of Iman. He is the beloved of the sun. Wow. Now, to the right-hand side of the cartouche is Ra Mes here, the begotten of Ra. Ra got him. Ra bore him. He was born by Ra.
Yeah.
He's trying to tell us here he's the son of the sun.
Yeah.
He's S-O-N, S-U-N. He's the son of the sun. And then on the lower part, there is a kind of bent stick to the left of the right-hand side cartouche. That's Hika. Hika means ruler.
That one on the far right?
Like
That's
with
what
this
we call the key of life,
Hika,
right?
no, in the cartouche, my dear.
Oh, yes.
Inside the cartouche,
inside
on the
the
lower
cartouche,
part,
right.
on the left, you'll find a stick which is bent at the top.
Okay.
That's Hika. Ramesses II in Ramsiom temple, depicted on his shoulder of the 1,000 tons granite statue. Once again, 1,000 tons, one piece of granite. That's Ramesseum temple in the West Bank of Luxor. He carved on his shoulder Hika Hiku.
And what's that?
Hika, we said ruler. Wu is the plural in hieroglyphs. Like the waw al-jama', like the waw of plural in Arabic. So Hika Hiku means ruler of rulers. Bassam Bassamu. You want to exaggerate more.
Yeah.
He is the man who smiles. He's Bassam, but he is also the smile of the smiles.
Okay.
So Bassam Bassamu. Hika Hiku. I'm trying to make it. So, to the right-hand side of the stick is Un or Iyun. Here is the guy that you like. You
Yeah.
like. Un. Un is Matariya Ain Shams.
Is that the
Un.
guy that you like?
Iyuno. Matariya Ain Shams. This is because she likes Ham Iyuno. Right? So, he is the ruler of Heliopolis. See where he is? He's in Upper Egypt. But he's telling you that I'm the ruler of Heliopolis, up there in the north. Let's take a look at the coming picture. 2010 declaration in the Saudi Archaeological and Tourism Association that shocked the world. Definitely shocked me. What did the Saudi historians find? They went to an oasis called Tayma. Let's take a look at the coming picture, please. Right? Tayma, remember this name. Tayma is a name of an oasis. In Tabuk, where is Tabuk? Tabuk is, I'll make it easier for you. Cross Sinai, it's Tabuk on the other side. So Tabuk is the governorate in the Arab Peninsula of Saudi Kingdom today, which can be kind of allocated north and then go to the west a little bit, towards us, towards Sinai. That's Tabuk. So Tayma is not that far away. That's why my introduction was, what would you think if I was the king of Egypt and I gave you the commission of going, oh, go to China to fetch us silk? Oh dear, that's a long journey. Okay. But then go to Delta, fetch me some flowers. Okay, sir, Delta is not far away. Go to Tayma, where Madian was. All this place of Madian, the kingdom of Madian. And what was the kingdom of Madian doing at that time? Oh, Madian was brilliant. And that part of the nation and that part of the world was well known of 4 important things. One is gold, silver, copper, incense. Those are the 4 things that the Egyptians were after going to Tayma. So as a caravan...
But incense was also in Sudan.
And of course in the south as well. Thank you, yes.
I mean, they knew incense before they go to Madian.
They had more than one route, my dear. Just like today. You want, I don't know...
you go to Paris and you go to England.
Or you want to go to get fashion, you go to London, Italy, Paris, I don't know what. So, the Saudi active historians found this. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is changing, this is rewriting history as we speak. On a mount. That is not a temple, that's not a tomb, that's not a sacred area by any kind. This is in the middle of the route. So now I can explain to you that those cartouches of Ramses III, 1100s BC we are talking, 1100s BC we are talking, were the depictions of the people of the convoy, of the trade caravan, if you like. And once they are going from one step to the other, they will stay, drink water, rest a little bit, carve the name of the king. We were here. Just like your graffiti. We were here. I'm here. Bassam was here. 1920, I don't know what.
A kind of documentation.
Yeah, of course. And at the same time, it can help them coming back because you are in the desert. So you can be easily lost.
This is going to be my coming question regarding the geographic issue.
Yes.
How did they know how to go?
Exactly.
How did they know in the first place that there is a state or a civilization or people? You know, discovering the Arab Peninsula by then for me is like discovering Mars now.
Of course.
But before we continue, as we are covering the historical visit of the Saudi king to Egypt, which is going to last till Monday, inshallah, and he is going to visit Al-Azhar today, and it's going to be the very first visit by a Saudi monarch to Al-Azhar. Do we have the phone, Amir? We are very much delighted to have with us Dr. Anas Abu Shadi, the President of Islamic Studies Department of Al-Azhar.